Rejected black woman spent 10 years nursing a paralyzed Korean mafia boss. Then he did the impossible. The flames roared around her, eating through the walls, swallowing the air. Mira screamed, but no one came. No one ever came for her. Then she heard it. Footsteps. Impossible footsteps. Through the smoke, a figure emerged. Walking, stumbling, falling, rising again. Taehyun. The man who hadn't moved in 10 years was dragging himself through fire to reach her. She couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. His legs gave out twice. He crawled. He pulled himself up. He kept coming. When his arms wrapped around her, when he lifted her from the ground, his voice broke through the roar of the flames. I told you, I would burn it all down for you. For 10 years, she had bathed him, fed him, talked to a man she thought couldn't hear a single word. She had confessed her deepest shame to his silence. She had fallen in love with a ghost. But he had heard everything. Every word. Every tear. Every secret. And now he was walking through fire to prove it. Before we dive into this incredible journey, if you love stories about healing, impossible love, and finding your worth when the world tries to take it from you, hit that subscribe button, drop a comment telling me what the impossible thing is, and stay until the end because this one will change you. Now, let me take you back to where it all began. The alarm screamed at 4:45 in the morning. The same time it had screamed for the past 10 years. Mira Okonkwo reached out from under her thin blanket and silenced it with a heavy hand. Her body ached before her feet even touched the cold floor. 34 years old, and she already moved like a woman twice her age. She sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the cracked ceiling of her tiny apartment. The radiator clanked. The neighbor's dog barked. Somewhere down the hall, a couple was already arguing about money. This was her life. This had always been her life. She walked to the bathroom and avoided the mirror like she did every morning. But today, something made her stop. Something made her look. The reflection staring back at her showed a plus-sized black woman with tired eyes and hair she never had time to style properly. Her scrubs were faded from too many washes. Her hands were rough from years of work. She traced the stretch marks on her arms. Battle scars, her grandmother used to call them. But battles were supposed to end eventually. Hers never did. In the drawer beside her bed sat a ring. An engagement ring she couldn't bring herself to throw away, even after 3 years. Marcus had given it to her after 8 years together. She thought it meant forever. She was wrong. You were practice, Mira. That's what he had said the night he left. You were practice for the real thing. Practice. 10 years of her life and she was just practice. She shook off the memory, grabbed her bag, and headed for the door. There was no time for self-pity. There was never time. By 6 o'clock, she was on the bus heading toward the hills where people like her only existed to serve. The compound appeared through the morning fog like something out of a dark fairy tale. It wasn't a mansion in the traditional sense. It was a fortress disguised as a traditional Korean estate, hidden behind walls covered in jasmine. The flowers were beautiful, almost intoxicating in their sweetness. But Mira had learned long ago that beauty often concealed the most dangerous things. The guards at the gate nodded as she passed. They never spoke to her. In 10 years she had never learned their names, and they had never asked for hers. She was invisible here just like everywhere else. The main house was silent as she entered. Her footsteps echoed on the marble floors as she made her way upstairs to the master bedroom. She paused at the door, taking a deep breath before entering. "Good morning, Mr. Shin." The man in the specialized medical bed didn't respond. He never did. Shin Taehyun sat propped up against pristine white pillows, his body positioned to face the window overlooking a koi pond. He was 45 years old, though he looked younger despite everything. His face was handsome but frozen, his dark eyes staring at nothing. Once, he had been the most feared man in the Korean underworld. They called him the Ghost of Incheon. Ruthless, untouchable, the kind of man who made other dangerous men cross the street. Then came the assassination attempt. A bullet to the spine, they said. Complete paralysis from the neck down. The ghost became a statue, trapped in a body that no longer obeyed him. That was 10 years ago. Mira had been there since the beginning. The jasmine bloomed overnight, she said, moving to open the curtains wider. Thought you would want to know. You always seemed like a man who noticed beautiful things. Silence. Always silence. She didn't mind. She had grown used to it. Mira moved through her routine with practiced ease. She checked his vitals, changed his bedding, adjusted his position to prevent bed sores. She prepared his morning medication, crushing the pills and mixing them into a protein shake she would feed him through a straw. As she worked, she talked. She always talked. The news says it might rain later. I hope not. I forgot my umbrella again. You would think after 10 years I would learn, but no. I am a slow learner, Mr. Shin. Very slow. She laughed softly at her own joke. He didn't react. Oh, I almost forgot. I brought you something. She reached into her bag and pulled out a small bouquet of blue hydrangeas. I know I brought lilies last week, but I saw these at the market and thought of you. I do not know why. Maybe because they are stubborn. They bloom even when the soil is wrong for them. Reminds me of someone. She placed the flowers in a vase by his bed, arranging them carefully. There. Now you have something pretty to look at besides my tired face. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. The morning continued. Physical therapy came next. Mira moved his limbs through their range of motion exercises, bending and stretching muscles that had forgotten how to work. She was gentle, always gentle, treating his body with a reverence that seemed out of place in a room that had once belonged to a killer. You know, she said as she worked on his legs, my grandmother used to say that the body remembers what the mind forgets. She believed that if you kept moving someone, kept their blood flowing, their spirit would stay close. She paused, looking at his face. I do not know if that is true, but I like to think you are still in there somewhere, Mr. Shin. Just waiting. If she had looked closer, she might have noticed the slight tightening of his jaw. But she didn't. She never did. By noon, she had finished her morning duties. She fed him lunch, wiped his face, and settled into the chair by his window where she always sat during her break. She pulled out her phone and scrolled through messages. Her sister had texted again. Have you thought about what I asked? Mira's stomach tightened. She knew what her sister was asking. The wedding. The invitation that had arrived last month, requesting her presence at the marriage of her younger sister Adiz to Marcus Obi. Her Marcus, her ex-fiancé, the man who had called her practice. And now her own sister wanted her to stand there and smile while they promised each other forever. She typed back a response, then deleted it. Typed again, deleted again. Finally, she just turned off her phone. You are lucky, Mr. Shin, she said quietly. You do not have family drama. No sisters stealing your future. No mothers asking why you cannot just be happy for everyone else. She laughed bitterly. Then again, I suppose you have your own problems. Sorry. That was insensitive. She sat in silence for a while, watching the koi swim lazy circles in the pond below. When she spoke again, her voice was softer. Can I tell you something? I have never told anyone this. Not even my mother. She glanced at him, confirming what she already knew. He couldn't hear her. He couldn't judge her. He was safe. When Marcus left, I told everyone I was fine. I said it was mutual, that we had grown apart. But the truth is, I begged him to stay. I got on my knees, Mr. Shin. I actually got on my knees and begged a man to love me. Her voice cracked. And you know what he said? He said I should have seen it coming. Said everyone could tell I was just the placeholder. The one he settled for until something better came along. She wiped her eyes quickly, embarrassed even though no one could see. Something better. Like I am a used car he was waiting to trade in. She stood up abruptly, smoothing down her scrubs. Sorry. You do not need my problems. You have enough of your own. She busied herself with meaningless tasks, fluffing pillows that didn't need fluffing, straightening sheets that were already straight. Anything to avoid sitting with the pain. But in the bed, something was happening that Mira couldn't see. Taehyun's hand, hidden beneath the blanket, had curled into a fist. His jaw was clenched so tight that his teeth ached. He had heard every word. He heard every word she ever spoke. And something inside him, something he thought had died years ago, was burning with rage at a man he had never met. Weeks passed. The routine continued. Mira arrived every morning at 6, left every evening at 8. She talked, he listened. She shared, he absorbed. She had no idea that she was the only reason he opened his eyes each day. But something was changing. Small things. Things she almost didn't notice. One morning, she found a book open on his nightstand. She always closed them when she finished reading to him. Always. That is strange, she murmured, picking it up. I could have sworn I left this on the shelf. She looked at Taehyun. His eyes were fixed on the window, empty as always. She shook it off. She was tired. She was imagining things. But then it happened again. His head position was different than how she had left it. A glass of water was closer to his reach. The wheelchair in the corner had moved 3 inches to the left. Okay, she said one afternoon, standing in the middle of the room with her hands on her hips. Either this house is haunted or I am losing my mind. She stared at him for a long moment. He stared at nothing. You would tell me if you could move, right? Like, blink twice if you are secretly messing with me. Nothing. Not even a flicker. Yeah, she sighed. That is what I thought. But she couldn't shake the feeling. After 10 years of caring for this man, she knew his body better than her own. She knew exactly how his fingers curled, how his head tilted when he slept, how his breathing changed at different times of day. And something was off. That night she stayed late. She pretended to organize his medication cabinet. But really, she was watching him in the reflection of the glass doors. Waiting for something. Anything. At 9:15, she said goodbye and left the room. But she didn't leave the house. She waited in the hallway, barely breathing, counting the seconds. At 9:22, she crept back to his door and peered through the crack. Her heart stopped. His hand was moving. Not a twitch, not a spasm. Deliberate, controlled movement. He was reaching for the glass of water on his nightstand. Oh my God, she whispered. His head turned toward the door. Their eyes met. For one terrible, infinite moment, neither of them moved. Then Mira did the only thing she could think of. She ran. She made it to her car before the panic fully set in. Her hands were shaking so badly she couldn't get the key in the ignition. 10 years. 10 years of feeding him, bathing him, confessing her deepest secrets to what she thought was an empty shell. And he had been awake the whole time. She drove home in a daze, replaying every conversation, every confession, every tear she had shed in his presence. He knew about Marcus. He knew about her mother. He knew about the time she considered swallowing all her pills just to make the loneliness stop. He knew everything. She didn't sleep that night. She paced her apartment like a caged animal, torn between rage and humiliation. By morning, she had made her decision. She was going to confront him. If you discovered that someone you trusted completely had been hiding a massive secret, even if it was to protect you, could you forgive them? Drop your answer in the comments. And keep watching because what happens next will change everything. The drive back to the compound felt longer than usual. Mira's hands gripped the steering wheel so tightly that her knuckles ached. She had rehearsed what she would say 100 times. But now, pulling up to those iron gates, every word evaporated from her mind. The guards nodded as she passed. Same as always, as if her entire world hadn't just shattered. She walked through the house in a trance, her footsteps echoing in the silence. When she reached his door, she paused. Just do it, she whispered to herself. Just go in there and do it. She pushed the door open. Taehyun was in his usual position, propped up against the pillows, eyes fixed on the window. The perfect image of paralysis. But she knew better now. She knew it was a mask. She closed the door behind her and locked it. We need to talk, she said, her voice steadier than she felt. And this time you are going to answer me. She walked to the window and closed the curtains, plunging the room into shadow. Then she pulled a chair close to his bed and sat down, her face inches from his. I know you can hear me, she said. I have known for a while, I think. I just did not want to believe it. His face remained blank. Empty. Dead. But she was done pretending. I am going to ask you something, and I need you to understand how insane I feel right now. She reached out and took his hand in hers. If you can hear me, if you have been able to hear me this whole time, squeeze my hand. Please, just once. The silence stretched between them like a living thing. 5 seconds. 10. 15. Mira felt tears burning in her eyes. She had been wrong. She was crazy. She was so desperate for connection that she had invented one with a man who couldn't even. His fingers closed around hers. Firm. Deliberate. Real. The sob that escaped her throat was raw. Animal. Oh my God. She pulled her hand back like she had been burned. 10 years. 10 years. Taehyun. You have been in there this whole time? His eyes moved. Slowly, painfully. They slid from the window and found her face. And for the first time in a decade, Shin Taehyun looked at another human being. Mira's legs gave out. She collapsed back into the chair, her chest heaving with sobs she couldn't control. Everything I told you, she gasped. Every secret. Every shame. You heard all of it. You know everything about me and I know nothing about you. His mouth moved. Just barely. A twitch at the corner of his lips. Please, he rasped. His voice was destroyed. 10 years of silence had reduced it to sandpaper and broken glass. But it was there. It was real. Please, he said again. Do not leave. Mira stared at him, her mind screaming at her to run, but her body refused to move. Do not leave, he said again, his voice breaking on every syllable. Please. Why? The word came out as a whisper. Why should I stay? You lied to me for 10 years. Not a lie, he rasped. Protection. Protection. She laughed bitterly. From what? From everything. From them. From me. His chest heaved with the effort of speaking. She could see sweat beading on his forehead. Every word cost him something. I need to know, she said, her voice trembling. I need to know everything. Why you did this. Why you pretended. Why you let me pour my heart out to you like a fool. Not a fool, he whispered. Never a fool. Then what? What was I to you? His eyes closed, and for a moment she thought he had retreated back into silence. But then his lips moved again. Everything. The word hung in the air between them. Mira stood abruptly, needing distance, needing air. She paced to the window, then back, her mind racing. I do not understand any of this. You are a mafia boss. You were paralyzed. Now you are not. None of this makes sense. Sit, he said. Please. I will tell you. Against every instinct screaming at her to leave, Mira sat. And Shin Taehyun began to speak. His voice was broken and halting, but the story came out in pieces. How he had joined the organization not for power or money, but for revenge. How his wife and 4-year-old son had been killed in a car bombing meant for him 12 years ago. How he had hunted down every person responsible, rising through the ranks until he became the very thing he had sworn to destroy. I became the ghost, he said, staring at his hands. I became death. And when I had killed everyone who took them from me, I realized I had become worse than they were. What does that have to do with the paralysis? The assassination attempt was real, he continued. They poisoned me, ricin variant, damaged my nervous system. For 3 months I could not move, could not speak. The doctors said I would die. But you did not. No. He met her eyes. I survived. And slowly I healed. But I realized something while I was trapped in that body. If they thought I was powerless, I could dismantle everything from the inside. Transfer the money. Collect evidence. Destroy the empire I built. So you faked it. He nodded slightly. For 10 years. Yes. Mira felt dizzy. She gripped the arms of her chair to steady herself. And me? Where do I fit into your 10-year plan? For the first time, something that might have been pain crossed his face. You were not part of the plan. You were never supposed to happen. What does that mean? It means, he said quietly, that I was supposed to finish my mission and die. I had decided. When it was done, I would join them. My wife. My son. There was nothing left for me here. He paused, and when he spoke again, his voice was barely audible. Then you walked into this room. Mira's breath caught. You talked to me like I was human. You brought me flowers. You read to me. You told me your secrets. You made me want to stay. Tears spilled down her cheeks before she could stop them. That is not fair, she whispered. You do not get to say things like that after lying to me for 10 years. I know. You do not get to make me feel something for you when this whole thing has been a lie. Not a lie, he said again, stronger this time. Never a lie. Every moment with you was the only real thing in my life. Stop. Mira. Stop talking. But he didn't stop. He couldn't. 10 years of silence had built a dam, and now it was breaking. I know the names of every flower you brought. Lilies, roses, jasmine, hydrangeas. I know you hum Amazing Grace when you are nervous. I know you take your tea with honey, no sugar. I know you read me poetry because you think the rhythm is soothing. I know you cry on Thursdays because that is when your mother died. He leaned forward as much as his weakened body would allow. I know you think you are invisible, that you are not enough, that you are disposable. And I have spent 10 years wanting to tell you that you are wrong. Mira covered her face with her hands, her whole body shaking. This is too much. This is all too much. I know. I should leave. I should walk out of here and never come back. Yes, he said quietly. You should. But she didn't move. They sat in silence for a long moment. Finally, Mira lowered her hands and looked at him. I want to see it, she said. See what? Whatever you are hiding. There is more. I know there is. You have a room somewhere in this house where you keep the truth. Show me. He hesitated. Show me or I walk out right now and you never see me again. East wall, he said finally. Behind the bookshelf. Second panel from the left. Press it. Mira stood and crossed to the bookshelf that covered the eastern wall of the bedroom. She found the panel he described and pressed. There was a soft click, and a section of the wall swung inward, revealing a hidden room. She stepped inside and her breath caught. The room was small, barely larger than a closet. But every inch of wall space was covered. Photographs, documents, maps, and in the center, a desk with a worn leather journal. Mira picked up the photographs first. A beautiful Korean woman with kind eyes, holding a little boy who had his father's serious expression. The two of them laughing, playing, living. This is them, she whispered. Your family. Yes. She set the photos down gently and opened the journal. The entries were in Korean, but scattered throughout were dates she recognized. Transfers of money, names of families, restitution payments to the victims of crimes he had committed. You have been making amends, she said, trying. Then she saw her own name, over and over. Mira, Mira, Mira. She found an entry dated 8 years ago and held it up to him. What does this say? He closed his eyes. Read it to me, please. Cannot read Korean. Then I will translate. He was quiet for a moment, remembering. Then he spoke. Today she brought cherry blossoms. She said they reminded her of hope because they bloom even though they know they will die quickly. She does not know that she is the cherry blossom. Brief and beautiful and making me believe in spring again. I think I am falling in love with her. God forgive me. I think I have been in love with her for months. Mira's knees buckled. She sat down hard on the floor, clutching the journal to her chest. 8 years, she breathed. You have loved me for 8 years and never said a word. What could I say? I am a monster, Mira. Killer. I have blood on my hands that will never wash clean. You deserve someone whole. Someone good. I deserve the truth. She stood up, walking back into the bedroom. She dropped the journal on his bed. I have spent my entire life being told I am not enough. Not pretty enough. Not thin enough. Not worthy enough. And here you are, telling me I am too good for you. Do you know how insulting that is? Mira, no. You do not get to decide what I deserve. You do not get to love me in silence for 8 years and then tell me it is for my own good. She was crying now, angry tears streaming down her face. I am so tired of people making decisions for me. Marcus decided I was not good enough. My family decided I should just get over it. And now you have decided that protecting me means lying to me. She crossed to the bed and grabbed his face in both hands, forcing him to look at her. I am not fragile. I am not breakable. And I am not yours to protect unless you are willing to let me protect you too. His eyes glistened. You do not know what you are asking. Then tell me. Explain it to me. But stop deciding for me. Before he could answer, the lights went out. The entire compound plunged into darkness. Emergency lighting kicked in a moment later, bathing everything in eerie red. Mira's heart hammered. What is happening? Taehyun's face had gone hard. The mask was back, but different now. Not empty. Focused. They are coming. Who? Everyone. Footsteps thundered through the hallway. Shouting. The sound of doors being kicked open. The head of security burst into the room. "Sir, we have a breach. Multiple hostiles. I need to move you to the safe room." "No," Taehyun said. "Lockdown protocol. Seal this wing." "Sir, I do not think." "Do it. And make sure she stays with me." The guard looked at Mira, then back at Taehyun. Something passed between them. Understanding. Acceptance. "Yes, sir." He left, and moments later, steel shutters began descending over the windows. The door locked with a heavy metallic thunk. They were trapped. Mira turned on Taehyun, fear making her voice sharp. "What is going on? Who is attacking us?" "Not attacking," he said quietly. "Confronting. The organization knows. They have known for a while, I think. Tonight they are making their move. Are we going to die?" "Possibly." She stared at him, then did the only thing she could think of. She climbed onto the bed beside him and took his hand. "Well then, if we are going to die, you better tell me your favorite color." "What? 10 years and I do not even know your favorite color. That seems wrong." Despite everything, he almost smiled. "Blue," he said, "like your scrubs. The first day you walked in, you were wearing blue." She laughed, a slightly hysterical sound. "That is the most ridiculous romantic thing anyone has ever said to me. I have 10 years of them saved up." "Then you better start talking. We might not have much time." So he did. For hours, while chaos erupted around them, while men fought and died in other parts of the compound, Taehyun told her everything. Every thought he had swallowed. Every feeling he had buried. Every moment he had wanted to reach for her and couldn't. And Mira listened. She curled against him in the darkness, her head on his chest, listening to the heart that beat for her. Somewhere around midnight, the fighting stopped. The silence that followed was worse. Then the door opened. 6 men entered, led by someone Mira recognized. Park Jae-sung, Taehyun's second in command. She had seen him dozens of times over the years. He had always been polite to her, distant but polite. Now his face was cold. "So," he said, looking between them, "the rumors are true." Taehyun sat up straighter, and Mira felt his body shift. The paralyzed man was gone. In his place was the ghost. "Jae-sung," he said calmly, "I assume you have something to say." 10 years, the man spat. 10 years of this pathetic act while you destroyed everything from the inside. Did you think we would not notice? The missing money? The leaked information? The families that kept getting restitution from anonymous sources? "You noticed," Taehyun said. "You just could not prove it. We can now." He gestured, and another man brought forward a laptop, turning it to show a screen filled with financial records, emails, recordings. "Everything we need to bury you. The question is whether we bury just you or the nurse too." Mira's blood turned to ice. "She knows nothing," Taehyun said, his voice hard as steel. "She was just doing her job. For 10 years? Jae-sung laughed cruelly. "Either she is incredibly stupid or she is in on it. Which is it, Miss Okonkwo? Are you stupid or complicit?" Mira opened her mouth, but Taehyun spoke first. "She is neither. She is irrelevant." The word hit Mira like a physical blow. "She means nothing," Taehyun continued, his voice cold and empty. "Just hired help. Disposable. Let her go. Your problem is with me. Disposable." The same word Marcus had used. The same wound ripped open again. Mira looked at Taehyun, silently begging him to meet her eyes, to take it back, to explain. But he stared straight ahead, his face the mask she remembered from 10 years of silence. "Fine," Jae-sung said. "Take her out. Make sure she understands what happens if she talks." Rough hands grabbed Mira's arms. She struggled, but they were too strong. "Taehyun," she cried out. "Please." He did not look at her. They dragged her from the room, down the stairs, and threw her out the front gate. Her car was brought around. A guard leaned close, his breath hot on her face. "Forget everything you saw here. Forget him. If you talk to anyone, police, reporters, anyone, you are dead. Understand?" She nodded, numb. Then they were gone, and she was alone in her car, staring at the compound that had been her whole world for a decade. Disposable. She drove home through tears that blurred the road. 3 days passed like 3 years. Mira did not eat, did not sleep. She replayed every moment, every word, trying to understand how she had gotten it so wrong. Had any of it been real, or had she been just another pawn in a game she was too naive to understand? On the fourth day, someone knocked on her door. She almost did not answer, but something made her look through the peephole. It was the head of security from the compound. She opened the door a crack. "What do you want?" He held out an envelope. From him. He said you would understand. She took it with shaking hands. The man left without another word. Inside was a letter, handwritten in 2 languages. Korean on one side, English on the other. "Mira, I called you disposable to save your life. You are anything but. You are every flower you brought, every story you told, every hymn you hummed when you thought I could not hear. You are 10 years of reasons to keep breathing. I am sorry I could not give you more than silence. I am sorry I pushed you away. But they would have killed you, and I could not let that happen. If you never come back, know this. You were loved. Completely. Impossibly. Eternally. The organization will kill me tomorrow night. I have accepted it. But I needed you to know the truth first. You were never disposable. You were everything. The letter fell from her hands. Tomorrow night. She looked at the clock. It was already 7 in the evening. She had hours. Maybe less. Mira grabbed her keys and ran. The compound was dark when she arrived. The gates were open, unguarded. Something was very wrong. She ran through the empty halls, her footsteps echoing. Where was everyone? She burst into Taehyun's room. He was in the bed, thinner than she had ever seen him, his face gray. He did not move when she entered. "No," she whispered, rushing to his side. "No, no, no." She grabbed his hand. It was cold. "Taehyun, please, wake up. You do not get to do this. You do not get to send me a love letter and then die." She climbed onto the bed, pulling him into her arms. "You called me disposable. You know what? I have spent my whole life being disposable to everyone. My ex, my family, the world. But I am done. I am done being thrown away." She shook him gently. "You do not get to throw me away too. Not after 10 years. Not after making me fall in love with a man who could not even tell me his favorite color." His eyes opened. Just barely. "Blue," he whispered. "Like your scrubs." She sobbed, laughing and crying at the same time. "That is still the most ridiculous romantic thing anyone has ever said to me." "I have more," he breathed. "So many more." "Then you better live long enough to tell me." Trying. "What did they do to you?" "Poison. Slow acting. Wanted me to suffer. Where is everyone?" "Gone. Left me to die alone." "Well, too bad. You are stuck with me now." She held him tighter, and felt his arms, weak but real, wrap around her. They stayed like that, holding each other in the darkness, until they smelled smoke. Mira's head shot up. "Do you smell that?" "Fire," Taehyun said. "They are burning the evidence. And us with it." Smoke began seeping under the door. The hallway outside glowed orange. "We have to move," Mira said, trying to lift him. "Cannot. Too weak. I am not leaving you. You have to." "Absolutely not." The smoke was getting thicker. Mira could barely breathe. She dragged Taehyun toward the door, but flames blocked their path. They were trapped. "Mira," he coughed. "Listen to me. You have to leave me. Find another way out." "There is no other way." "The window. We are on the 2nd floor. Better than burning." "I am not leaving you," she screamed. The ceiling groaned. Part of it collapsed, sending sparks and embers raining down around them. Mira pulled Taehyun as far from the flames as she could, shielding his body with hers. "I am sorry," she whispered. "I am so sorry I did not come sooner." "Not your fault," he breathed. "Never your fault." The heat was unbearable now. Mira's lungs screamed for air. She closed her eyes, holding the man she loved, preparing for the end. Then she felt him move. His arms tightened around her. His legs shifted. "What are you doing?" "What I should have done years ago." And Shin Taehyun stood up. His legs shook. He fell. Rose again. Fell again. But he kept moving. "You cannot," Mira sobbed. "You are too weak. Watch me." He pulled her up, wrapped his arms around her. and step by agonizing step, he carried her toward the window. The room was an inferno now. Mira could barely see, barely breathe, but she felt him. Strong, real, impossible. He crashed through the window, shielding her body with his as they fell. They hit the ground hard, rolling across the grass. Mira gasped, sucking in clean air, coughing out smoke. Taehyun lay beside her, unconscious. She crawled to him, checking his pulse. Still there. Weak, but there. Behind them, the compound burned. Sirens wailed in the distance. Help was coming. Mira held Taehyun's face in her hands. I told you, she whispered. I told you I would burn it all down for you. His eyes fluttered open, finding hers. Wrong, he breathed. I burned it for you. 1 year later, the house on Jeju Island was small. Nothing like the compound. Just a simple structure near the beach, with a garden where Mira grew flowers. She stood on the porch, watching the sun rise over the ocean, a cup of tea in her hands, arms wrapped around her waist from behind. You are up early, Taehyun murmured against her neck. Could not sleep. Bad dreams? Good ones, actually. That is what scared me. He turned her to face him. He moved easier now, though he still had a slight limp from the injuries he had sustained. His voice was stronger. His eyes were clear. You know what I thought the first day you walked into my room? He asked. That I talked too much? That I wanted to hear your voice forever. She smiled, tears gathering in her eyes. You are still ridiculous. And you are still not disposable. You never were. You never will be. He took her hand, running his thumb over the simple jade ring on her finger. His mother's ring. The only thing he had taken from his old life. Let's go inside, Mira said softly. The same words. New meaning. Home. They walked inside together, fingers intertwined, leaving the past burning behind them. What would you wait 10 years for? What would you walk through fire for? Drop your answers below. If this story touched your heart, hit that like button and subscribe for more journeys like this one. And remember, you are not disposable. You are not invisible. The right person will see every single thing about you and call it beautiful. Do not settle for less. Until next time.